Welcome back to All That and More, a podcast from the Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo. I'm your host, Jillian McDonald. On today's episode, I'm joined by Mayor Sandy Bowman to talk about his first year in office and dive into some frequently asked questions from the public.
I'm enjoying the role. It's a lot of work, but I enjoy hard work and I enjoy seeing results. And one of probably the highlights, as well as one of the hardest parts, is creating these relationships between industry, with our Indigenous communities, with the province. And those are all important relationships that need to be maintained for us to move forward on any of the needs the municipality has.
Let's get into it. We humbly acknowledge that All That and More is recorded on Treaty 8 territory, the traditional lands of the Cree and Dene and the unceded territory of the Métis. Today, I am very happy to welcome our mayor, Mayor Sandy Bowman. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
Really appreciate the time that you're taking today. I know you're busy. Did you get to take any time off this summer?
As we didn't have regular council meetings, but yeah, it was nonstop most of the summer. So, but it was exciting. It was more events structured rather than meeting structured. So it was a good summer. Not too much time off, but we enjoyed it.
And speaking of events, I'm sure community members have seen that you've been out and about quite a bit. You were attending events like Treaty Days and the ATC Cultural Festival. Why are events like this so important to the region, and why should community members be participating?
I think it's really important, to celebrate our cultural our history in the region. As we've talked about Fort McMurray, how we talk about oil, and that's what we're about. What we're about before that was Indigenous people were here before we were. And they were the first business people. They operated the fur trade before we ever came here. So it's important to celebrate their culture and to get involved and to really learn about it.
And I think something that a lot of residents might not know about you is that you are really diving into this Indigenous culture, and you're actually taking Cree and Dene lessons, correct?
Yes, I am.
How has that been going?
It's going very well. I have an amazing teacher, Elder Rita Martin in Fort Chipewyan. She's been my main teacher through all of this. And the support she gives. And I mean, she even scolds me over video camera when I'm doing things wrong. So she's a great teacher, great mentor. And that's also taught me what it's not only the Cree language I'm learning, but it's also the way of learning.
Right.
The Indigenous way of learning isn't written on paper. It's listening from the elders. And as a lot of elders will tell you, that it's usually the women that do a lot of the teaching. And it's from the stories, and it's from, so when we do a lesson, there's a lot of stories involved with it. There's a lot of explaining what this is, and we can take one word and spend 10 minutes talking about that word and where it comes from, what it means. And even a lot of the words, there's no meaning in English, no word that directly correlates to it, but it's a broader meaning. So it's really exciting, and I'll be doing the land acknowledgement at the Arctic Winter Games in February in Cree. And I actually opened a few meetings in the last while in Cree as well. I did the land acknowledgement in Cree, and in front of a pretty tough audience with several elders and different Indigenous leaders from the community. I did it in front of them and waiting to
be scolded
again. Yeah, but Elder Robert Cree talked to me afterwards and congratulated me on it, said I pronounced the words very well, and even where I used them was proper. So I was pretty proud of that, and I right away let Elder Martin know where we were at, and she was very happy, and she says I'm one of her best students.
Oh.
So I'll take that as a
star
compliment.
pupil.
Exactly, yeah.
What was it that brought this on? Why was this so important for you to do?
Elder Frederick McDonald, he said some things during a speech one day that really kind of triggered in me. It's reconciliation, he said, and so we need to be actually doing something. So everybody can do their own part and do their own thing. And mine was to really recognize this land acknowledgement. I wanted to do it in Cree and Dene, so that shows my commitment to what I'm trying to learn.
Maybe one of these days we'll actually have to have you do our intro to our land acknowledgement in Cree or Dene.
I can do that. I actually can do that. I was really proud to be able to do that in front of the group already.
Yeah.
And I look forward to it in the Arctic Winter Games.
Can you talk about what council is doing in the rural communities, how you are connecting with them, and the importance of that for you?
Yeah, each month we've been going to each rural community engagements and just sitting out and sitting in the community and talking to the people there. and really hearing about what their needs are and what they see as some things that we're lacking, and honestly, some things that we're doing well. We've been to some different events in Fort Chipewyan, in John V. Anzac, and it's been really positive.
It'd be great to actually talk about highlights from your first year as mayor. You recently just reached your 1-year anniversary. So what are some of the highlights from this year?
Huge highlights. It's what I expected.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's not what I expected.
That feels like a very loaded response.
It is, but it's the truth. As I expected, it was going to be a lot of work. I didn't expect all the public engagements, that people were so excited to have me come to events. And it means a lot. And I love going to the events. So it makes for a 9-hour workday turned into a 17-hour workday pretty fast if you're not careful. And probably the first 9 months, that was what I was doing. But I've had a great time. I'm enjoying the role. It's a lot of work, but I enjoy hard work, and I enjoy seeing results. And one of probably the highlights, as well as one of the hardest parts, is creating these relationships between industry, with our Indigenous communities, with the province. And those are all important relationships that need to be maintained for us to move forward on any of the needs the municipality has. Most of the ministers in the province, they try to look away when they see me coming because they know my issues. I meet with them and I don't even have paper with me. They know why I'm there.
Yeah.
I've went over our issues so many times that Minister Panda has pictures of our bridge on his cell phone that I put there. So when I sit down and talk to him, he knows why I'm there. Like, you need to fix this bridge. It's not our bridge, it's your bridge. That's just an example, but it's been great, and I enjoy the relationships we're making. And I've been out to the schools a lot. I've been in the community a lot, and I'm enjoying the role.
I mean, you mentioned how busy you were. I mean, that was how we started this whole podcast. But if time were to allow it, are we ever going to see you back in the ring again?
No.
That was a quick response.
But it's funny, though, because you always want to do it, and I do. I mean, you can't. This is me as a fighter in the back, getting taped, getting ready. All the hard work was put in, and then you walk out to an arena with 5,000 people cheering for you or cheering against you regardless. It's a rush, and then you get in the cage, you lock the door. That's a rush you can never emulate again.
Yeah.
And a lot of fighters have a hard time moving on from that.
Right.
I recognize my age, I recognize my limitations, and I adjust my sports accordingly. Now I just sit in the seats and cheer for the Oilers and the Oil Barons, and I keep it short to that.
Was your last professional fight the one against Butterbean?
Yep, it'll be October 2011.
Well, I mean, it would be great to see you in the ring. I mean, that would bring in certainly a crowd, that's for sure. But I get it. You know,
if we had take some ministers and figure out some kind of a deal we can make on bridges and roads, and I mean, Minister of Affairs, Rich McIver, maybe Municipal Affairs, he might want to jump in there.
You heard it here first, folks. We'll see what we can do on this.
Negotiate our EMS dispatch, I'm sure.
I feel like there are so many opportunities with this.
Yeah, definitely fundraising opportunities. But no, with that said, it's definitely a good icebreaker, actually, to be honest with you. When I go to anything in the province dealing with issues, one of the things that when I first meet most of the ministers, their question is it true? Even Premier Jason Kenney, when he was a premier, very first question out of his mouth. So I heard, and he had the video, showing the video. I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's not why I'm here. I'm here about EMS dispatch. But that was a great icebreaker, and we actually became pretty good friends after that. So, and I'm hoping now with new election, we have still get close enough to the premier that we get our issues across the goal line.
We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're actually going to be talking about some questions that we received from community members during the fall trade show. So I'm going to put you in the hot seat a little bit.
Super. Can't wait.
Looking for a more impactful workout routine this winter? Volunteer to be a snow angel and help a senior in your neighborhood shovel their driveway and walkway. Become an angel today by signing up individually or with a group online at Wood Buffalo Volunteers. Get involved, participate in community conversations, and have a say on municipal projects. Whether it's filling out a survey, attending an open house, or joining an online discussion, your feedback is important, and sharing it ensures your perspective will be considered when decisions are being made. Visit Participate Wood Buffalo to find all current public engagement opportunities. Winter is coming. Make the colder months a little easier by signing up for WMZ alerts, It's a no-brainer. Once signed up, you'll receive weekly email updates to help you keep up with on-street parking restrictions. Register on the municipal website and let's plow through the winter season together. That's our Municipal Minute. Find more information on these initiatives in the show notes or on rmwb.ca. And if you have questions, call Pulse at 780-743-7000. During the fall trade show, community members were encouraged to submit questions for the mayor to answer. There were a lot of actually amazing submissions. First, we'll focus on business in the region. So the biggest question that we constantly get at any engagement, and by far was the most popular question, was, are we getting a Costco?
Are we getting a Costco? And I've been asked this a lot of times, and I generally have a pretty quick answer to it. But it's not. It's a two-way street. It's not as much we want a Costco. It's more of a, does Costco want to come here?
Right.
That's a huge thing. We can make it favorable for Costco to come here, and I think we do that. It's not really a municipal government's job or my job to go out to Costco and tell them we want you to come to Fort McMurray, because I shop at Costco just as much as anybody else, and I know I love it and I hate it.
Yeah.
I know going into the building, if I need batteries, it's going to cost me $700.
Yeah. True story.
So I know that's what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And it's like me walking to Cabela's. I love to have Cabela's here too, but Cabela's needs to want to come here. And it's the same thing. I go to Cabela's for one thing, I'll leave it $700, whatever I went to buy. So I think it's, I'm a huge fan of Costco as well, but they have to want to come here. We can do as much as we can to cut red tape and make it favorable for them. But at the end of the day, it's Costco's decision where they build the Costco.
And maybe next time you go into Cabela's, you can get a good mounting kit for your moose head so that it doesn't fall off your mantle.
Okay, my own defense, it was an elk.
Oh, it was an elk.
That fell off the wall. And it wasn't the mount that the problem was. It was my carpentry ability that was lacking.
Maybe we should explain for people what happened.
I'm an avid hunter. Most people in the community know that. An elk I wanted to put on the wall in my living room. And I finally got permission to do that.
Finally got wife approval?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it took a while until it became her idea. Once it was her idea, then I'm off to the races. But I put it up, sat back, was admiring it. And as I turned, it fell out of the wall and hit me in the head. I still have a nice little scar, and I'll probably have a bump for a while. But other than that, the only thing that ended up happening was that elk went in the garage.
You're not allowed to put it back up.
And that elk is not going back on the wall. It's a
safety hazard.
It's a safety hazard, and we need to do that in our home. Make sure it's safe for myself.
Mostly just you, right?
Yeah, mostly just me. Yes.
So the long and the short of it is Costco. It's Costco's choice. Continuing with the economy, what is council's plan to revitalize the region?
I think the role the municipality plays in it is just create conditions that help people create jobs. And that comes from our Wood Buffalo Economic Development and Tourism, what they do. That comes from us having the lowest taxes in the province. So we're doing what we can to do that. Community investment programs we have going on that fund social profit groups. We do quite a bit to revitalize. We have our downtown revitalization. We have our DRIP program. There's a lot of things going on.
We have a big project that should be opening here fairly soon in downtown, which is the opening of Kiem Park. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of that and, when we're expected to see it open to the public? It's
looking to open very soon. It's looking beautiful. I mean, you can't beat what it does for downtown. It definitely livens up this part of downtown. The important thing to remember is that it was approved by the previous council, and it was a group of volunteers together working with the Downtown Revitalization Committee that actually recommended this park go in there. So it's a huge collaboration. And when you look at what the expenses are, most of the expenses were paid by the federal government and provincial government. Mm-hmm. So it was a large number of people coming together to design this park and to approve it for the community.
And it really brightens up the downtown core. If you haven't seen it, the lights are pretty amazing at night.
Oh, it's really nice. And my hope is that it's used for some events. It'd be nice to have some food trucks in there in the summertime. I know it's designed for that. Mm-hmm. So there is some things, real positive things we can do there.
So stay tuned, everyone. I'm sure some more information on the opening of the park will be coming very soon. This question still is about revitalizing the region. And this question actually came from 8-year-old Luca. Luca submitted this question during the trade show, and Luca would like to know if there's any way to get bike lanes put throughout Fort McMurray.
Strangely enough, this question is one that was sent to me by most people in the municipality. Actually, this is the only question that was sent to me by people in the municipality from Luca.
Really?
They screenshot, somebody took a picture of Luca asking the question, sticking on the board, and it got sent to me on every possible means.
So it made it right to the top.
Yeah, what we have for bike trails in the municipality, we have tons of bike trails that I use myself through Birchwood. We put a lot of time and expense in our bike trails. And we have some of the most beautiful scenery to go when you go on these bike trails. And they're kept up more than I'd say most municipalities do for this expansive project we have of bike trails in the community. I think, honestly, what he's alluding to is bike lanes in the streets. I would hate to see Luca on a side of a street and how dangerous it would be, even though the lane is designated for bikes. But what I can say is we have like some beautiful trails that we put a lot into, and they're maintained quite well. We have a very good collaboration between pedestrians and bikers on those trails. So there's a lot of trails that he can use all throughout the community.
Well, and then there's both gravel and paved trails throughout the Birchwood area, right?
Exactly,
so
yeah.
There's options for sure.
But I really thank Luca for the question and he's getting engaged and doing this. I mean, that's something we wish all youth would do.
Yeah.
Like there's something he wants, go ask the question. Like there's no sense, and he's not complaining about it. He's going to ask the question and see what he can get done. So I really appreciate the question, and I hope he's happy with the bike trails we have, and I hope he's safe on them and enjoys the summer when we get back to it.
And Luca, I very much hope that you stay engaged in your local government, because in a few years' time, when you're old enough, you can join McCoy, the Mayor's Advisory Council on Youth, and you can sit at the table with the mayor and make some of these important decisions.
And strangely, when you mention that, that's my exact message in McCoy is to show up to the council meetings, know what's going on, get involved, ask questions. So I've encouraged them to be at the council meetings or at least tune in online to know what's going on, so when they have issues, they can bring them back to us.
Well, Luca, I hope that answered your question. Moving on to a couple of other things that came up from the questions at the trade show. There were a few questions around accessibility, what we can do more of to heighten the accessibility options for people with disabilities in the community. Myself
and council is really committed to this. We want to be a leader in that area throughout the province. And I think the way we're building it up, it will be. We have the Transit Master Plan coming out before Christmas. And that'll bring a lot of these questions will be answered in that. Because we did a lot of engagement. We talked about McCoy earlier. They even did accessibility studies through all the schools and what they want to see in that transit plan. A lot of work and a lot of collaboration went into the transit plan. So we're really looking forward to that coming forward. As well as that, the new vehicle for hire bylaw that actually has incentives in that for taxis to have accessible taxis. So we're doing a lot in that area, and we can always do more like anything else. But until we roll this out, we'll know what else we can do.
And I think what a lot of people probably don't understand is that we actually have a diversity, equity, and inclusion office within the organization. So we're working on those plans.
No, exactly. And like I said, it's been brought up the entire year, the past year we've been here. That's been one of the questions. So the municipality knows that is out there, and we're working collaboratively with the engagements in the community, as well as stakeholders, and everyone at the RMWB is working on this. And I know it was one of the questions when I asked about my favorite hockey team and my favorite hockey player. So I want to answer that question because it was on there.
Are you sure you want to start this kind of a fight?
No, it's a very political answer.
Okay.
And it's shout out to our oil barons in town. My favorite hockey player growing up was actually a Montreal Canadian, Kirk Muller. Mm-hmm. His nephew is actually playing for the oil barons right now.
Well, there you go.
So if you want to see Kirk Muller's nephew play at Fort McMurray, he was just traded to the Fort McMurray Oil Barons. So that goes back pre-1993 as my favorite hockey player. But Kirk Muller's nephew is now playing for the Oil Barons. So try to give some Oil Barons game and cheer on some local heroes. We're going to wrap this up real quickly, but what do you see the next year being like? What are some of the issues that you're focusing on, and what do you hope to see for the region? I really think a lot of the issues we've been focusing on, I'm hoping they'll be tied up in the next year. I'm hoping that we're going to see a finish line when it comes to EMS dispatch. I think we've pushed that hard enough. I'm really hoping that's going to very soon. Actually, they told us there was going to be before the end of this year, we'd have something back on that. We have 881. We have some issues with that. We have our issues with our bridge right now. So we have a lot of things, but I think this is the year we're going to see those changes made, kind of banged on the door long enough that all the ministers know what it is. And with elections coming up, it's a good time for them to make some easy wins in our municipality.
Well, Mayor Bowman, thank you so much for taking some time today. I know you're a busy guy, so we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, and I really appreciate it as well.
If you want to hear more from Mayor Bowman in a future episode, let us know by visiting rmwb.ca/podcast. There you will find a link to our suggestion form and can access all of our past episodes. Next time, we're bringing you a special Remembrance Day episode. I'm joined by municipal firefighter and active community member, Pat Duggan. Pat is also a veteran and president of the Legion. That's all the time we have for this episode. I'm Jillian McDonald. Thanks for tuning in to All That and More.
Way!